All right, good morning, everybody. I hope everybody's in here. Looks like we've got some people joining still. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Morning, Blair. How are you, sir?
Morning. I'm good.
Just a few quick housekeeping notes. So day 2 of the conference. Don't forget a few things, awards. So go to the reception area and you'll see a list of forms and different stuff for different discussions. One of those is award submissions. So if you have a site that you think is worthy of an award or an add-on, maybe MuxEE, just saying, that is worthy of an award, those need to be submitted by 10 a.m. this morning, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that's right about now. So last chance is get those in there. We're about to shut that award form off. And then winners will be announced at the closing remarks today around, I think, 4 o'clock, 4:10 time period. Also, we need your feedback. So you'll find links to speaker feedback and conference feedback in the reception area. Be sure to fill those out. That really helps the speakers understand what they could do better to be a better speaker, to provide better content, and for us as a conference, what you like, what you don't, and for us to share with future speakers what our attendees like and don't like, and all that kind of fun stuff. I think that's about it. Oh, following this discussion, and the next session will be the open business and open developer discussion. So you can also go to the reception area and fill out the forms to submit questions or topics you want to talk about. Since this is kind of the dev track right now, you guys are the experts in those. Okay, so we want you, when you join that session, to go ahead and share your audio and video and get ready to discuss, talk about developer problems, talk about challenges you have on your team or as an individual. Talk about things you want to do and you're not sure. Maybe it's questions about Vue, React, the age-old question of tabs versus spaces, or how do I do a Git workflow, or you're struggling with continuous development or continuous improvement and all that kind of stuff. So whatever it is, whatever troubles you have, whatever things you want to do, whatever you're trying to figure out, everybody at the conference is an expert in something. We all have some piece of nuggets or information, some golden nugget to share with everybody else there. So really want everybody to encourage everybody to share their screens, share their audio, video, and let's really help each other out and grow the community through that. So excited for day 2 to kick off here with Blair. Blair is the Director of Recording Services at the University of North Texas College of Music. He's been there for what, 20 years, over 20 years or so?
This will be 14, almost.
14 years, so. But 20 years of experience in recording and that kind of stuff. And with the department, he has had to broadcast more than 600 classical and jazz concerts a year, the largest music college in the United States. I had no clue about that till I was reading his bio there. So needless to say, when it comes to streaming audio and video, he is probably the expert in the community. If not, I'm sure he's in high regard in the industry as well. And this year, he just released MuxEE, which is a live streaming media platform for ExpressionEngine and Add-On that just became available, within the last couple of months, I think, right? Yep. So yep. I know he's been working on that for a while, and I've heard stories about it. Really excited to see it come out and in the store. And really excited today to hear about the story of how it all came about and what led to it, and a little bit about MuxEE. So with that, I'm going to head on out of here, and I'm going to leave it to Blair. Thanks, cool. Blair.
All right. Thanks, Andy. I'm going to share my screen. Make sure that shows up. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the project at UNT, and then kind of how that related to building a module for it. So as Andy said, I've been running the department for about 14 years, and we've been streaming for about 13 of those years. So we started with Ustream way back in the day, I think when it first came out, just doing about 60 or so of the major ensemble events. And then during COVID, although it wasn't necessarily a COVID thing, it's something we had been building up to, decided to do all of them. And what that really translated into was all 6 of our major concert halls all were installed with cameras, in addition to the one that we already had, which was what's in the picture, that has our major ensembles in it. But the tricky thing was, once we live streamed these, some of them went to YouTube, some of them we did internal, which I'll explain. that they had to be available afterwards. So coming up with a workflow that made sense took some time, and it took a number of years in development. And in addition, we're completely student run. And so it becomes a bit of a, sorry, timer. It becomes a bit of a trick in order to have people that don't know how to handle streaming itself, more than just kind of the one button. I just hit a button and I live stream to Twitch or live stream to Facebook. It's a little more in depth than that when you start getting into these bigger broadcast systems. And in the background, we've been using Expression to do this. So I know this is a web conference and this is a bunch of AV gear, but I wanted to just show this, that we have all of these AV systems. They all end up doing AV related things. We have cameras, we have recorders. This all ends up into a feed that hits our live stream encoders. And this is where the streaming part of streaming really happens. So we use Hlos. We also use hardware encoders like Elemental, which is now part of AWS, and High Vision. We're also looking at AJ's Bridge and some other live stream hardware encoders. Our primary streams are encoded and sent to a packager. It's Wowza. And then we push that to a CDN. Currently that's Fastly, and that's our primary feed. But we needed a backup feed in case that primary one failed. And the reason for that is really, since it's me, another full-time staff, and like 8 to 10 student workers, we can't always be on call if something happened when we're streaming anywhere from 8 to 10 concerts a day. And so we have this backup system at the top, which is a single bit rate from the AJ Hilo that's sent to Mux. And Mux will then convert that into kind of a high, medium, low quality stream, and then push that on their CDN. And then we get a feed that we can push onto our website. And in the process of that, I thought, that's kind of cool. But I had a month to develop the system. So I put it on pause doing more with it. This is, we're still running version 5. This is what the back end looks like. So all of our concerts are sorted into a channel. And so each event has a hall, it has a degree type, it has performers with tags, it has all of the metadata for each concert is put in there. And this is ZebNews, so we get a nice view about what's going on, what is at what status and where. And then since each event is related to a hall, the halls channel contains the information about the hardware and the equipment that's in each concert hall. And so, for example, this hall has 3 encoders, and it's set to automatically change the file name of the recording of each one of those encoders so that we can pull the drive out and it's already labeled the way that we want it to be labeled. We have automatically stopping and starting as part of that. One of the new ones that I'm going to push is a auto purge, so it'll automatically clear the drive before an event if the drive is too full. If the hall's actually enabled for live streaming, we have a couple halls that are not used very often. Are we using Mux? Is it set up for Mux? Are we using an Elemental? So as we change and modify the physical layout, the physical equipment that's available in each concert hall, we can then add and remove custom fields in ExpressionEngine to mimic that. And so then on the player end or on the automated encoder end, the data is there about what it should be doing. On the website, this is an example of the video on demand, but the live stream looks pretty much the same. We host all of our videos internally using Wowza, and they're still pushed and cached on a CDN. But it allows a nice integrated experience. It's not going to another site. And then when the students are done with their concert, they can log in and rewatch it or replay it. So this is what they see after they log in. So you get waveforms. There's a play button. Depending if you're a student or a faculty or a staff, or if it was your concert, you see different buttons alumni, for example, can log in, but they are not allowed to download anything. So they don't see any download buttons. They're just allowed to stream it, either the audio or the video. Some concerts don't have video because the hall doesn't have it. So then they may not see a play button. Some concerts, we charge money for them to be able to download as like a maintenance fee. So they may see a buy button. So all of that logic is handled when the person logs in and they're sorted into groups and eventually roles once we get to version 6. A list of all the things that we use in this. There's a lot. So if you imagine if you had 10 years to work on one site, how much stuff could you shove into it? And this is what happens. And so we're using a number of front-end scripts. I got rid of jQuery a couple of years ago, not because I didn't like it, just because we were trying to make things more efficient and kind of keep things up to date. So most of the front end is running on Vue, but Wavesurfer handles like the waveforms for the audio player, a little bit of Moment. I've tried to stick to, especially time zone support is a big deal with live streaming. So I've tried to stay native as much as I could. Some notification things. I love the rough notation. That's kind of an oddball that underlines things like policies. Really, really handy. We integrate with a number of services like JW is our JavaScript player. Mux data is for views and view counts. We use Full Story. I know right now there's another session going on that's talking about click tracking and recording. That's what this does. So if you want to talk about that, that's another topic. Airtable for tracking. That's a good way of getting around all the tracking blockers. Algolia for search, Strive for charging, Zapier for small automation things. As far as stock add-ons, Assets, Data Grab, and Zebnew are probably our 3 most important ones. Data Grab, which I'll explain in a minute, helps us get events automatically into ExpressionEngine. And then I've developed a number of custom add-ons over the years, from LDAP for logging in to a number of them that deal with either working with an API for service, or we have an internal system such as the waveform generator. So for example, we use the BBC audio waveform app on our server, and that's what generates all the data that then you can see these squiggle lines like you would on like a SoundCloud. And then we have a couple standalone scripts which directly control the encoders. So for more on that, there's a write-up I have that both combines the AV side, what cameras we picked, what switchers we picked, what the rooms look like, and then a little bit on the web side if you want kind of a more comprehensive reference. So to transition a little bit into the Mux side and how that module kind of works. So currently, this is our process of getting events into ExpressionEngine and then streamed. And so we start with this red box, which is kind of an old, I wouldn't say old and busted, but an old PHP app. It does what it does very well. It's no longer under further development. And from there, there's a checkbox for recording. And that's how I get my list of events that need to be broadcasted or recorded. Because the data is different, I have a script that sits in between that helps to normalize if it's symphony orchestra, what ID number is that in this system, and then what is it in my system. So it does query. I had to build basically an API in ExpressionEngine, really a read-only JSON feed that can show and grab data from all of these different relationship fields. But the big thing is really this one section where when an entry is created or updated, there is an EE hook that taps into these 3 add-ons. One's to simply update Algolia, one is to create a JW player ID for that tracking, and then the other one is for Mux. And with Mux, you create a live ID or a live stream ID, and it spits back some data such as event keys and playback keys. And so I store those in some simple text fields. So we have our main ID, we have our live stream key, which is what goes into the live stream encoder, and we have our playback key, which shows up on the front end. And this is all good and great. It works. It's just that there's no upload field. There's not a lot of flexibility. Being a an input field that's being updated over the API. If the entry is open and an update happens and you click save and that field was blank, you lose it. So there's some issues with doing this. It works, and it got us through COVID. I guess that's the most important thing. But it definitely was not something I was ready to package up and ship and give to someone else. And there's just some other things that, like, for example, this is how it currently looks. So to get information from about a video, they're currently JSON text files. And I mean, that works. It's functional. It's just not the greatest. And so sometime around December, I decided to try to make a module out of this. I got some advice from some people that make certain picture add-ons that said don't do it, but I did it anyway. But I think with Mux and live streaming and on-demand streaming, I looked at it as a way as kind of creating a more native experience within ExpressionEngine. And how can we make this easy to do? How can you make video to do? Because video can be very hard. You have these big giant files. They're not pictures where it just takes a fraction of a second to convert into something else. Now, Mux itself and the add-on handle live streaming, on-demand streaming, either from file uploads or playback. And it also has a number of supporting features for video, like thumbnail generations and posters. You can make clips from videos. You can do downloads. And there's a number of other small features. And they're a very new company, so they are developing more features very rapidly. Now, where I think Mux sits in terms of if you have to pick a service, and I'm not going to say that one service is better than the other. It's just they're all tools. And most people ask, well, why didn't you use YouTube? And it's, well, YouTube does a lot of good things. It's a platform. We do use YouTube for our main events, but it also can create some problems. For example, one of our biggest problems with YouTube is copyrights. When we live stream a classical concert, we get hit with copyright issues, and we just have to handle those. When you're doing it about 60 a year, it's not too bad. But if you added 0 to that and do 600, it's kind of unmanageable. So we knew that YouTube, for example, wasn't really going to work. Vimeo and JW Player were possible, but at the time, Vimeo was not quite there yet. They had bought Livestream, the service, but they still hadn't written new documentation. They hadn't really developed their platform yet, and it's come a long way. But Vimeo is kind of its own option. If you go to the bottom, yes, we could have created a stack on AWS. Since we already use Elemental, we'd have been fine with that service. But it would have taken a lot more work, a lot more time to put all of the pieces together. And if you're doing a big app or maybe a very custom app, that might be a possibility, especially as you get bigger. Wowza was another one, but Wowza wouldn't allow file uploads. I know that's a commonly requested feature with their cloud system. And we have an internal system that we already run on Wowza. We looked at that pretty heavily too. And we actually do kind of use that already on our front end. That's our primary feed. And so Mux kind of sits in this area where it abstracts a lot of the cloud services for you. So they do use cloud services. It's just not up to you to decide if you're using Google Cloud or an AWS Cloud or Microsoft or whatever. They just kind of handle it. You just get a link. You don't have to worry about how do I get a thumbnail generated out of this. They kind of just give all the tools to you in order to use. They also have very, very good documentation, which I know is huge here. So the other thing I wanted to point out before jumping into a demo is the cost. And this was our year cost for last year. And in the red box, we spent about $4,000 on Fastly bandwidth. And that was just to live stream. Now, kind of two notes on this is that we streamed higher bit rates for our primary feed than what Mux will spit out by about 2 megs a second more. So we did push more bandwidth, but I guess, and the other one is the cost. We did not enter into any contracts to reduce the cost, and they gave us the option to do that. We decided at the time not to. We just wanted some flexibility. So we went month to month. So the cost is probably a little higher, but Fastly is just a CDN. It's just pushing the content out. Whereas if you look at the green box, our Mux cost was lower. And even if you say, okay, well, maybe our Fastly could have been about the same, still Mux is handling image generation, it's handling storage, it's handling encoding, which can be a really big cost. It's handling a lot of services for us. And so from a cost perspective, when I look at other services for streaming, some of the quotes we got added at least a 0 and then double that for some of the numbers that we were talking about in terms of how many minutes we were going to live stream, some of our view counts and things. So I really think, in my experience with using this service for a year, that it was very affordable. So with that, I wanted to jump into the demo. Now I don't have this thing up, so the chat up, so I hope everything's going well. If not, call me. So here is what the add-on looks like in an entry. So when you download the MuxEE add-on, which is something that I've developed independently, I should say, it comes with a live stream field type and a asset field type. Now Mux calls on-demand video assets. So that's the terminology. So if you wanted to just do like a simple video upload, you would install the module, you would exchange API keys just like any service, and then you would add the field type to a channel, set it up how you want to, just like any other field type, and you would get something that looks like this and should feel very native and familiar. I'm going to go grab a clip, I'm going to drag and drop and upload. Now, that upload goes directly to the cloud. It doesn't pass through the web server. So it doesn't matter what the bandwidth of your server is. It's going, from what I understand, it's going to Google. And there we go, and it's uploaded. Now I can save this, and now that entry's committed, and I get these nice pretty thumbnails. I can scroll back and forth. This is a test file, so it's only available for 24 hours, and it's watermarked and limited to 10 seconds, but it's free. So I can upload as many of these as I want to test my site until I'm ready to go live. The field can handle multiple simultaneous uploads. And that's pretty much it. It's meant to be very easy to do. Now, to show this on the front end, I've got a template set up, and this is the code to do that. So I'm just going to hit refresh, and there's my video. So I can hit play, and this is playing from Mux's system. Now, to do that tag, I have my loop, the field type loop, and then I've written so far 2 helpers to help with the player. So the first one is Hls.js, which is an open source Chromeless player. It's just, it's great and it's lightweight. It just doesn't have a lot of extra features to it. You pass the Mux ID to it, and you can pass an optional thumbnail to it, which can be one that Mux generates or your own custom one. And then with that, that shows the player. What's hidden below here is all of the tags. And so these are all the tags that you would get out of the box. And some of them are kind of fun. You have aspect ratio. I've got one with new CSS tag. There's the duration, both in seconds and in kind of human time. There's frame rates, resolution. Is it a test file? You can have multiple development environments with Mux. So which development environment is it in? We also get the thumbnail URL. And one of the kind of the cool things about the thumbnail URL is if I copy and paste it, there's my thumbnail, but it's kind of big. And so they kind of have the Cloudflare thing going on where you can go width, and then you can say 400. And then that would make a thumbnail that's 400. And then if you wanted to augment the time, you said time, I want it 5 seconds in, I can change that to be 5 seconds in. And all of those image manipulations are listed on their site and documentation. So the time, the width, the height, rotate. The cool one is Smart Crop, where it tries to figure out where the point of interest is. So thumbnail generation is super awesome. So like this thumbnail, I can copy, I can paste that. And I'm gonna jump over to field, and there it is. So I can, I could append it, with 200 and put that in an image tag. Sorry, 300. I can put that in an image tag and it would give me an image that's 300. So I thought that's super awesome. Now, this works with grid and fluid field. So I've got an example of that. And so I can add a new row, and I can call this my bunny clip. Obviously, I've tested this a few times. If it's giving me suggestions, I drag and drop. And once it's uploaded, I can hit save, and that will commit that change. And then if I go over to, I'm going to go back to my example, and I've got this already. I'm going to copy and paste the code snippet for that one right above it. Save, refresh. And there's my bunny clip. So again, the code is the field, the grid column there, and then the grid column with this one. Just to not have it be gigantic, I made it fixed at 400. It's a fluid video player, and then dropped that one in. So that's kind of the basic example of uploading videos. Now, if I click this play button on the control panel, this brings open the inspector, or my test player. And this is where you can see the same sort of detailed information about the video. It also gives you the video track information. This can include closed captioning. I know in the future they're probably planning on additional like surround formats and languages and things. You get a playback URL if you want the direct HLS live stream link. That's also available as a tag if you wanted to bring your own player. And then you can also reset that playback key. So if this URL got copied and pasted and put on a forum and you wanted to nuke it without losing the video, you just hit that reset button. In the test player, you have all of the encoded renditions for this video. And while it's playing, it will tell you which one you're playing, so you can jump to it. You can set a custom poster. So in here, I can jump to, like if I wanted the evil look on the bunny video, I just select that, and then I can hit set. And then it will set that JPEG thumbnail. It's also showing me the GIF. So Mux can create short GIFs if you want those as well. And those are also available as a tag. And then I can go back to here and hit refresh, and it should show me evil looking eyeballs there. I'm going to skip clips. I'm going to come back to that in a second. And downloads. So by default, you can set globally if you want the MP4 download renditions available when you upload the video or create a video, or you can manually do it. So right now they're manual, so I can hit create, and it will build those MP4 files. Now, since this is a short test clip, it shouldn't take very long. But I mean, it can take a little while to make those. You can also request a high quality master file that's available for 24 hours. I'm going to hit auto just because I'm impatient. And then I have my downloads. I can also copy and paste that link to someone to say, just, hey, do you want to review this before we put this live? And then you can remove those downloads. Mux tracks statistics in two ways. One is just the raw stream output. So that's what this is. This just gives you total minutes in 90 days. Really better for the billing, or if you just need a total count. If you want more in-depth analytics, you can either use the Mux data package, which is just putting a JavaScript link on your video page, or you can use one of a number of other video analytic packages. And then finally, the same JSON data that's being used to really display this if you are wanting to go super custom and build out your own player. So to jump back to clips, I said earlier, you can create clips from on-demand videos from assets. And so I can select my in time, I can select my out time. It's got to be a minimum of 10 seconds, and I just hit create, and it just created a new player, or not a new player, a new video. So I can copy that video ID. I can go back to my grid, and I can say, check this clip out. And then I can manually add an ID, hit enter, and there's my video. Click save, go back to my grid. I don't know why it's blinking. And now there's my new clip. Now, when I saw that, I'm like, well, I would just cut that in Premiere or Final Cut and then upload it separately. That seems cleaner. And yes, that's how I would recommend doing it. However, that is not how you can do it with live streams. And that's where this becomes super powerful. And I just want to make sure I have enough time to go through this. This was my pause points. We're looking good. Okay, so to create a live stream, I've made a separate tab. This is the live stream field type. So I've already made one. It's really easy. You just have to make sure that it follows a set of rules. And so I'll cover those in a little bit. But out of the box, it's a status and if it wants to be in the future or not, since live streams should be an upcoming event. So this is what you get once you've got your live stream created. So I'm going to open up OBS. Hopefully everyone's familiar with that, but it's just an open source live stream app. And down here, I've got my stream key. So I'm going to copy my stream key, go into settings. I've already got the Mux basic link in. I'm going to paste the stream key and hit go. Again, this is a test, so it's limited, I think, to 10 minutes, but it's also free. So it shows it's connected. So it takes a couple seconds for it to start encoding. And then there it goes. So now that's my live stream. It's live, it's recording, and then I have another template set up that shows our live stream. So now I am live streaming on the internet. And actually, if you're looking at my link, you could probably watch this. You get the same set of tags, although minus some things that it just doesn't know. You can create thumbnails on the fly with the same scheme. You get the playback URL, all of the same things. And as far as tags go, this is what the page looks like. So it's the same loop. You also get, if you want to use the built-in HLS player or the JW player, are the two that I've gotten so far, or if you want to bring your own, you could do that very easily. Just there's an addition if you want DVR to work where they can scroll back in time, and if you want start and end times to show up. So, show will start in 10 minutes or something like that. And then you can also give it a custom image. That can be a static one like I'm doing right now, or you could drop in a variable. Now, while this is live streaming, hopefully my frame rate's not dropping. My computer was kind of iffy on handling this. I can go over to clips, and I can create a clip out of this. So I can say, hey, let's create the first 10 seconds, and 10, and let's create a clip out of that. And I just did. I'm going to hit copy. I'm going to go back to my publish page where my grid was and say, let's say this was goal. So let's say it was a soccer game and that was a goal. And then I can add that as a video, hit save, and go back to my assets example and refresh. And there is my goal video while we're currently live streaming. Now I'm going to hit stop just in case. Let's stop this so it doesn't, my computer stops going into orbit. I'm going to go back to my live stream and hit, oh, it's automatically ended. Sweet. And I can go now to recordings. And now this is the recording of that. Both recordings and clips are tag loops. So if you just wanted a list of all of the recordings that were made, I can go over to my live example, and there is my live stream recording. That's just some basic tag data. This is the example of the date for this event was set for August 9th, 2022 at 2:42 p.m. Central Time. This is time zone aware in JavaScript. It gives you an estimated time. The thumbnail's broken, otherwise it would have shown a thumbnail. Sorry, missed that one. Let's see, I think I have covered just about everything with this. I'm going to now go into the add-on settings page and then do any Q&A anyone has. So this is the settings page. So in here, it shows me all of my recent assets. So I get the same thing. I get thumbnails I can scroll through, which I did steal from Frame.io. So you can go and scroll through all those. You can copy the ID right there if you find a video you like. There's some sorting going on. The test player we talked about, there is a standalone upload form if you don't want to upload it directly to an entry. As far as settings go, you can use a config file or drop it directly in. I think it should be encoded into the database if you do that. If you want to break your site with development scripts, as I found out last night, you can do that with the CDN hosted view and whatnot. obviously caching and logging. All of the actions that are done in Mux as far as adding, removing, deleting are all logged in the control panel, so you can see what people are doing. You can pick which production environment you want to be working in. The endpoints and resetting those keys are in here. And then this is the live creation section. So by default, if you want future events only, you can toggle that. You can also select which statuses the event has to be in to acquire a live ID. So maybe you don't want a live ID when the status is still in pending or still in some kind of review. You only want to acquire it when it's ready to stream. Also, there's this field dependency, which is specifically aimed at what we're doing at UNT. And so, as I was talking about earlier, with concerts, the event that stores the Mux ID is a concert, but the room needs to be able to handle the live stream. And so we need to check if the room is enabled for that. So you have an entry that is a relationship to a room, and then it's a field in the room. And that's what this is for. And it's for defining conditionals based on custom fields. So it looks kind of complicated, and I'm working to try to decomplicate it, but it is functional. And you can show or hide those or simply not use them. I'd call that definitely in advanced mode. And then you also get settings that are that Mux wants as far as if you're in test mode. Do you want to create those static renditions? Do you want one of the low latency settings? They just came out with low latency Hls. So it should be about 5 or 6 seconds of delay. I think they say class to class is 4 without the buffer. And then you also need to select which field you want that ID to go in. And then the same thing with assets. Do you want to normalize the track volume? Do you want per title encoding? Things like that. There's also logs. You can view what the webhooks are doing, and maintenance if you need to clear any of the caches and things. So that's the overview of the module. It's currently on the store as test only, so you can download it. So you can create a Mux account, and everything's in tests. Everything's free. My hope was to launch a commercial version once 6.1 came out, and it's going to come out, and then I'm going to make sure everything works with that, and then try to launch a commercial version that you can use fully. But if you don't go and download the test version and you want to try to use it in a more of a commercial mode for some reason, just let me know. And with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
Awesome job, Blair. I know I see a lot of reactions of how awesome this is and excited people are. So that definitely, half of that was Greek to me as far as streaming goes. But I know I saw a lot of stuff in there that made it just all the more impressive for me to watch that and see that. And definitely, like I said, I know I've heard about it for a while now, that you were working on that and things you were doing. And to see that actually in action, that's pretty awesome stuff. And that goes to show some of the cool stuff you can do with ExpressionEngine and all that as well. So, yeah, we have one Q&A from Tom. And Tom asks, so when it's live streaming, does it offer different qualities for people to choose from?
So the qualities are made, but on the Mux side, they're there. Okay, so let me back up. Trying to make this technical but non-technical. So in HTTP live streaming, which is what HLS is, it's what's ubiquitous on the internet for live streaming right now. The browser decides what version you're watching when it's set to auto. Now, if you're a player, you decide on can manually select a version. So out of the box, Hls.js doesn't allow you to select it through a button. If you use JW Player or Theo or most of the other commercial ones, it's an option to enable the button. So when you go to YouTube and you can select what rate you want, that's an option. So short answer is yes, you can select it, but it's something that you configure.
Okay, very cool.
But yeah, those renditions are created. Mux is a just-in-time system. That's their whole thing. And so everything is made when you request it. So it's one way they cut down on costs. So I think like the very first time you request, like say a low bit rate, it may take an extra like 2 seconds or so. They don't say so, but that's what I see.
Sure. Justin said that we can live stream the 2022 EEConf from Philadelphia. I was thinking the same thing, so we may need to secure your services there, Blair. But we want people to come. We want people to show up. We want to have in-person conference. No more of this video stuff. Video is only secondary if you can't make it. So
yeah. Now I will say we've done a lot of studies at the college on streaming. Everyone thinks that if you charge for a concert, then you live stream for free, that people won't come. And what study after study has found is the exact opposite happens. It keeps people engaged, especially people that can't make it there, either because they're 10 minutes down the street and they're lazy, or they don't live where they can come to the conference. But the engagement is what helps people want to come, is what people have found. So
that's very good. It was like you were in my brain what we have to consider as conference organizers. So in-person conferences are not cheap, and we want people to come and buy tickets. So
yeah.
All right. Any other questions, guys? I know, again, just a lot of comments on how awesome this is.
I mean, I can rant on developer experience too. We can talk about that. That's a whole nother rant.
Yeah.
We'll create that'll be in the roundtable or
in the next discussion. Later. Yeah, sure.
It's a lot easier. I'll say that much. The CSS variables for colors was awesome.
All right. Well, if there's no more questions, then we'll go ahead and wrap this up and give everybody a break. Let you guys grab your second cup of coffee, hopefully, or I know some of you guys, it's pretty late at night, so whatever you need. Appreciate you guys over there. I know Gil said he was in Taiwan right now, or Gilbert said he was in Taiwan right now. So really appreciate you guys all over the world joining in and listening. That is one of the cool things about live streaming and being able to do this virtual conference is that participation from all over. The ExpressionEngine community is not just in one place. It's very spread out. And again, it brings lots of different views on the world. It brings lots of different views on ExpressionEngine and where you guys use it, and even development. I know just like the cookies and all that, that's a whole different world over there in the EU and those areas than we have to deal with here in the States. So really appreciate you guys staying up late and joining and being a part of the ExpressionEngine community. But for now, we'll say see you later. And here at, I think, 11:15, let me check the schedule real fast. Yep, 11:15, we're going to have the developer discussion. Join that. Go ahead, as soon as you jump into that room, be ready, share your audio and video. So if you're in your PJs now, that's fine if that's what you want to be shown in. But otherwise, go ahead and clean up your room or put some clothes on, whatever you need to do. And I want everybody, as many people as possible. I think we can have up to 20 at a time sharing their audio and video. And then we'll manage that from there for an open discussion on any kind of developer issues you guys have, any kind of questions you guys have, any kind of thoughts you have. It's actually going to be Travis from Hop Studios that's going to moderate that. So if you know Travis, he has a wealth of knowledge. He has experience running a team as well as just being a developer in general. So I know he's going to do a great job leading that discussion and keeping that going. So, all right, we will see you guys in just under 30 minutes. Talk to you guys later. Bye, guys. Thank you, Blair.
Yep.